Here's the part 2 cue card. Describe a problem you had while shopping online, or in a store, you should say. When it happened, what you bought, what problem you had, and explain how you felt about the experience.
You'll have 1 to 2 minutes to talk about this. Please start speaking now.
Okay. A problem I had while shopping happened around 2 years ago. I decided to order a pair of shoes online. I saw them advertised at a big discount, so I thought, great deal. I was really excited. They looked stylish and comfortable, and I needed them for work. But when the shoes finally arrived, they were completely the wrong size. I normally wear a size 40, but they sent me a size 38, which was, well, impossible for me to wear. The bigger problem, though, was the return policy. It was very complicated, the instructions weren't clear at all, and the delivery company wanted me to pay for the return shipping. That was almost half the price of the shoes. I felt really frustrated and disappointed, too, because I felt I'd wasted both money and time. Since then, I've definitely been much more careful about buying things online. That experience taught me to always check reviews and the reliability of the website before I buy anything.
Thank you. That was a very clear description. Now let's consider some more general questions related to this topic. We'll move into part 3. First question. What kind of customer service do you think is good?
Good customer service, well, in my opinion, it's when staff or support teams respond quickly and politely to problems. For example, when a store apologizes straight away and offers either a refund or exchange without making it too complicated, that makes customers feel respected. I think the tone is also important. Friendly communication goes a long way in building trust.
Right. The tone definitely matters. Okay. Next question. What are the differences between shopping online and in-store?
Shopping online obviously saves time, and it offers more variety. People can browse hundreds of options in just minutes. Like, you can buy clothes from international brands without leaving your home. However, in-store shopping lets you physically examine the products. For things like clothes or electronics, checking the size or quality in person, well, it often reduces the risk of disappointment.
Yeah, that trade-off makes sense. Okay. What problems do customers often have while shopping?
Many customers face issues like delayed delivery or products being out of stock after they've ordered, or receiving items that just don't match the description. For example, a friend of mine once ordered a backpack online. It looked sturdy in the pictures, but when it arrived, it was really cheaply made. And in physical shops, well, you have things like long queues or maybe unhelpful staff. Those can also create problems.
Okay, so given those issues, what do you think customers should do when there are problems with products bought online?
I think customers should first contact the seller directly, explain the issue clearly, maybe include photos as proof. That usually helps. If the seller doesn't respond, then customers can use official complaint channels, like through their payment method or consumer protection agencies. I think being polite but firm is really important. It increases the chances of getting a fair solution.
Okay, polite but firm. Good advice. Moving on, can customer complaints help improve product quality?
Yes, definitely. Complaints often act as feedback, right? When lots of people complain about the same issue, companies are kind of forced to improve their products. For instance, a mobile phone brand that gets frequent reports about battery issues might redesign the battery in future models. So, yes, complaints can play a positive role, but only if companies actually listen.
That's a great point about the feedback loop. Okay, last question for this section. What do you think of people complaining when they buy poor quality goods at a low price?
I think it depends, really. If people knowingly buy something super cheap, they probably shouldn't expect premium quality. For example, buying a t-shirt for a very low price usually means it won't last long, right? But if the quality is much worse than what was promised in the advertisement, then complaining is fair, I think. Expectations should be realistic, sure, but honesty from sellers is just as important, regardless of the price.
Thank you. That concludes the Band 8 simulation. Now, we're going to run through that exact same sequence again. Same part 2 cue card, same part 3 questions. But this time, listen for a Band 9 level response. Okay, let's revisit the part 2 cue card. Describe a problem you had while shopping online or in a store, you should say. When it happened, what you bought, what problem you had, and explain how you felt about the experience. Please start speaking now.
Right. A shopping problem I still remember quite vividly happened about a year ago. I bought a winter jacket from an online store. The pictures online, they showed this thick, waterproof jacket, seemed perfect for the cold season. I paid quite a high price for it, believing it was a good investment. But when it arrived, I was genuinely shocked. It was much thinner than the photo suggested, and the material felt cheap, almost like plastic. It clearly wasn't suitable for winter at all. The situation then became even more annoying because the seller, well, they didn't respond to my emails at first. After several attempts, they finally offered me a refund, but only if I shipped the jacket back at my own expense. Since international shipping was quite costly, it really felt like I was being punished for their mistake. I remember feeling really angry, not just because of the money loss, but also because of the dishonesty, in the product description. That whole experience taught me to be far more cautious now. I always read customer reviews carefully, and I avoid buying from websites that don't have very clear return policies. In a way, it was a frustrating but valuable lesson about online shopping.
Thank you. You can already hear some differences there, I think. Okay, let's move straight into part 3 again with the Band 9 perspective. First question. What kind of customer service do you think is good?
I believe excellent customer service means more than just solving problems quickly. It also means anticipating customer needs. For example, a good online retailer doesn't just provide live chat support, they might also follow up after the purchase just to make sure the buyer is satisfied. And in physical stores, helpful staff who actually notice when a customer is struggling to find something and offer assistance immediately, that can really enhance the shopping experience.
Right, that idea of anticipating needs is a step beyond just reacting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, what are the differences between shopping online and in store?
Well, the fundamental difference, I think, is the balance between convenience and certainty. Online shopping offers fantastic convenience, wider choice, and often better prices. For instance, you can compare prices across different platforms in minutes. However, in-store shopping provides a sense of certainty because you can physically touch, try, or test what you're buying right away. That's why people often buy, say, clothes online, but might prefer to buy expensive electronics in the store. Each method really has strengths depending on what the customer values most in that situation.
Convenience versus certainty. That's a very clear way to put it. Okay, what problems do customers often have while shopping?
When shopping online, customers often struggle with things like misleading product descriptions, items arriving late, or real difficulties in making returns. For example, my cousin ordered a phone case, but the size was completely wrong, despite choosing the correct model number online. In contrast, in-store shopping problems tend to be more about human interaction, like pushy sales staff or really long checkout lines. Both situations, though, can leave the customer feeling pretty dissatisfied.
hmm Distinguishing between the types of problems online versus in-store is helpful. So when those online problems happen, what should customers do?
I think customers should always first try to resolve the issue directly with the seller, but in a professional manner, providing evidence receipts, order numbers, photographs that makes the complaint much stronger. If that fails, customers can then escalate their case. They can go to consumer protection bodies or dispute the charge through their payment provider. For example, using something like PayPal, buyers can actually claim their money back if the product didn't match the description at all. This way, customers protect themselves, but it also pressures sellers to be more responsible.
Right, escalating the case using those formal channels. That sounds proactive. Okay, can customer complaints help improve product quality?
Absolutely. Complaints can serve as a type of, well, free quality control feedback for companies. It's invaluable, really. When customers consistently point out specific flaws, manufacturers are motivated to redesign or upgrade their products. For instance, I know one smartphone brand became quite famous for actually listening to users and fixing camera flaws in their newer models based on that feedback. So in the long run, addressing complaints doesn't just improve quality, it also helps build customer loyalty, which is arguably even more valuable for companies.
Building loyalty, yeah, that's a huge long-term benefit. Okay, last question again. What do you think of people complaining when they buy poor quality goods at a low price?
On one hand, people should definitely have realistic expectations. If you buy something from, say, a street market at a rock bottom price, you can't really demand luxury standards, can you? On the other hand, if sellers exaggerate the quality, even at a low price point, then I think complaints are justified. For example, if a seller advertises a bag as leather when it's actually synthetic, even if it was cheap, customers have every right to object. To me, the issue isn't solely about the price, it's really about honesty in advertising.
Honesty in advertising. That's a great point to end on. Thank you. Okay, wow. Hearing those back-to-back really makes the differences stand out, doesn't it?
It really does.
So now let's get into the really interesting part. Let's unpack the specific language that made that Band 9 performance stronger, and also highlight some of the good vocabulary we heard in the Band 8 response too.
Exactly. Because it's not just about using big words, is it? It's about precision, range, and how naturally you use the language.
Right. So where should we start? Maybe with some strong points in the Band 8 answers first.
Sure. Even in the Band 8, there was some solid vocabulary use. For example, in part 2, saying the shoes were advertised at a big discount.
Mm.
That's a perfectly natural phrase, a good collocation advertised at a discount. It's clear, it's accurate, shows good basic lexical control.
Okay. And what about wasted both money and time? That sounds pretty common.
It is common, but it's also effective and idiomatic. Using common phrases correctly is important for fluency. It shows you can express a negative outcome naturally. It's not complex, but it's appropriate and clear.
Got it. What else stood out from the Band 8 part 3?
The phrase physical examination of products, that's quite precise, isn't it?
Yeah.
A good, slightly more formal way to say checking things in person shows an ability to use appropriate register, moving beyond just simple verbs.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
And also, when giving advice, the phrase polite but firm, using contrasting adjectives like that effectively shows nuance. It's not just be polite or be firm, but the combination. That demonstrates good grammatical range and vocabulary control.
Right. So those show solid communication.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's compare that to the Band 9. What specifically pushed those answers up a level?
Okay, this is where we see a wider range and more precision. Take the Band 9 Part 2 response. Instead of just saying the description was wrong, the speaker used misleading product description. That's a much more specific term, often used in consumer rights contexts. It shows a more sophisticated, topic-specific vocabulary.
Ah, okay. More precise, almost formal.
Yeah.
And the feeling, instead of just frustrated.
Yes, the phrase felt like I was being punished for their mistake. That's much more evocative than just angry or frustrated. It uses idiomatic language to convey a deeper sense of injustice. Using that kind of nuanced emotional language, naturally it really elevates the response. Shows greater control.
And the conclusion of that story.
A frustrating but valuable lesson. Again, it's concise, idiomatic, and reflective. It shows the ability to summarize a complex experience and draw a conclusion, which points towards higher level thinking and language use.
Yeah, that definitely felt more sophisticated. What about in the Band 9 Part 3 answers? You mentioned anticipating customer needs.
Exactly. That was a key one. It goes beyond just solving problems. Anticipating needs is a higher level concept, common in business or service discussions. Using it correctly shows not just a wider vocabulary, but a deeper understanding of the topic, expressing subtle differences in meaning. That's Band 9 lexical resource.
Okay. And comparing online and in-store.
The phrase sense of certainty, that's quite abstract, isn't it? It captures the psychological feeling you get from seeing and touching a product. It adds depth, moving beyond just listing features. It demonstrates a command of more abstract noun phrases and nuanced expression.
And the advice for dealing with problems online. Escalate their case.
Yes, much stronger than just complain more. Escalate their case is specific terminology for formal complaint procedures. And mentioning consumer protection bodies is also precise, formal vocabulary. Using these terms accurately shows an extensive vocabulary and understanding of systems. It's less common, more specialized language.
Right, sounds much more informed.
And finally, that idea of complaints being free quality control feedback, that reframes the whole issue from a business perspective. It's analytical, uses a strong collocation, and shows the speaker can discuss the topic abstractly and connect it to broader ideas like build customer loyalty. That flexibility and depth are hallmarks of Band 9. So, you see, the real jump isn't just about throwing in random big words. It's about using a wider range of language precisely and naturally to express more complex, nuanced, and analytical ideas. It's about specificity, description, analysis, and overall control of the language.
That makes so much sense. So, for you listening, understanding these subtle shifts, the precise word choices, the effective collocations, how the ideas are structured and elaborated, that's key. Paying attention to this can really help you articulate your own thoughts with more clarity, sophistication, and ultimately impact. Helps you move towards those higher bands. And maybe think beyond just the vocabulary we highlighted. How did the flow, the connections between ideas, the ability to elaborate, how did all that make the Band 9 answers feel so much more compelling? What other elements do you think make communication truly exceptional? Something to